Not long after the Meryton assembly, Jane reveals her feelings about Bingley to Elizabeth. He was just what a young man ought to be: sensible, lively, good-humored, and Lizzie points out that he was also very good-looking. The next day, by contrast, when Mr. Darcy is discussed in the household, the consensus is that he is indeed completely disagreeable. Everybody saw that he was eaten up with pride. Mary gives him a pass by suggesting, "One cannot wonder that so very fine a young man should think highly of himself, what with family, fortune, and everything in his favor. He has a right to be proud." In light of it all, Lizzie promises that she will never dance with him, which may be a problem down the road. That is because Darcy has come to notice the beautiful expression of her dark eyes. Is it really possible to fall for someone because of the look in their eyes? Suddenly, he began to wish to know more of Elizabeth, and he proceeds to orbit around her conversations. Lizzie is not lost on this behavior. She says to her friend, Charlotte Lucas, "What does Mr. Darcy mean by listening to my conversation with Colonel Forster?" This leads her to feel that she should be impertinent to him, because he has such a satirical way of thinking. Miss Bingley catches on to the situation and demands to know what is on Darcy's mind. Darcy tells her, "I have been meditating on the very great pleasure which a pair of fine eyes in the face of a pretty woman can bestow." Caroline is all ears and further demands to know of whom he could possibly be talking about. "Miss Elizabeth Bennet," he answers. "Miss Elizabeth Bennet? I am all astonishment." It isn't long before a note arrives at Longbourn from Netherfield. It's an invitation for Jane to go and visit the Bingley sisters. For all the talk of taking the carriage, Mrs. Bennet is insistent that Jane go by horseback, knowing full well that it's going to rain. It is a directive that serves as a tactical device for Mrs. Bennet. Mr. Bennet says to her, "If your daughter should have a dangerous fit of illness, if she should die, it would be a comfort to know that it was all in pursuit of Mr. Bingley, and under your orders." Sure enough, Jane becomes very ill. Elizabeth is compelled to visit her. She walks through the damp weather, whereupon her arrival, her appearance created a great deal of surprise. Caroline could hardly contain her reaction, the girl scampering about the country with her hair so untidy. Louisa thought she really looked almost wild, her petticoat 6 inches deep in mud. Elizabeth was convinced that they held her in contempt for her actions, for she had perceived in general the superciliousness in their treatment of everybody. It begs the question, why is the aspect of superiority versus inferiority such a thing in this world? Out of concern for Jane's condition, Miss Bingley feels obliged to invite Elizabeth to remain at Netherfield for the time being. It prompts Mrs. Bennet to show up later with her 2 youngest daughters. Here she is assured that her scheme is getting on quite well, for Jane is sicker than ever. And it is during the visit that Lydia receives confirmation Mr. Bingley will indeed be hosting a ball. After they leave, the evening brings Elizabeth to the piano with the Bingley sisters. A curious moment occurs when Lizzie realizes how frequently Mr. Darcy's eyes were fixed on her. Darcy felt that he had never been so bewitched by any woman as he was by her. Miss Bingley suspected enough to be jealous and tried to provoke him into disliking her. The tension is resolved, for the most part, when Jane is finally feeling better. Elizabeth had been at Netherfield long enough, and for Mr. Darcy it was welcome intelligence. Upon the departure of the Bennet sisters, he wisely resolved to be particularly careful that no sign of admiration should now escape him. But why should Mr. Darcy feel that he should show no admiration for Elizabeth? Let us know in the comments if you have any ideas about this. Book Time Learning is dedicated to the study of writing and literature. If this video has been helpful in any way, please consider clicking the like button and/or subscribing. And thank you for watching.